Breaking: Ruben Amorim ready to abandon his 3-4-2-1 formation as Manchester United prepare for tactical revolution. Welcome back to United Daily Updates, your most trusted source for everything Manchester United. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, now is the absolute perfect time. We bring you breaking news, honest analysis, and insider information that you will not find anywhere else. No clickbait. No fake stories. Just reliable content that you can trust. Hit that subscribe button right now and join our community of passionate United fans who depend on us every single day. Today we have absolutely massive news. Game-changing news. The kind of news that could completely transform Manchester United's season. Ruben Amorim is ready to abandon his 3-4-2-1 formation. The system he has used his entire coaching career. The formation he brought from Sporting Lisbon. The tactics he has stubbornly stuck with despite all the struggles. He is finally ready to change it. And we could see a brand new 4-3-3 formation as soon as tonight against Bournemouth. This is not speculation. This is not rumor. This is confirmed by trusted sources including Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic. Amorim has told his players that change is coming. He has been working on a new formation at Carrington. And tonight could be the night we finally see something different from Manchester United. This is huge. This changes everything. And we need to break down exactly what this means for the club. The hook that changes everything. Imagine you are a Manchester United fan who has watched every single game this season. You have seen the same 3-4-2-1 formation over and over again. The same tactical setup. The same problems. The same mistakes. Week after week. Month after month. No matter what happens, no matter the result, Amorim sticks with his system. He never changes. He never adapts. He is stubborn to the point of madness. You have screamed at your television asking why he does not try something different. You have argued with friends about whether the formation is the problem. You have posted on social media begging for a change. You have lost faith that Amorim will ever be flexible enough to adjust his tactics. You have started to wonder if he is the right manager for Manchester United at all. Then suddenly everything changes. Out of nowhere, Amorim announces he is ready to try a 4-3-3. A completely different system. A formation that most Premier League teams use. A tactical setup that might actually suit the players United have. After over a year of stubbornness, he is finally willing to adapt. How do you feel? Excited? Relieved? Hopeful? Or skeptical that it is too little too late? This is the moment United fans have been waiting for. The moment where their manager finally shows he can be flexible. The moment where tactics might actually change to fit the players instead of forcing players into a system that does not work. This could be the turning point of the entire season. Or it could be a desperate move from a manager who is running out of ideas. Either way, it is massive news that will dominate the conversation around Manchester United for weeks to come. The 3-4-2-1 formation that has defined Amorim's career. Before we talk about the change, we need to understand what Amorim is changing from. The 3-4-2-1 formation has been his signature. His identity as a coach. The system that brought him success at Sporting Lisbon and got him the Manchester United job in the first place. Let me explain how the 3-4-2-1 works for those who might not be familiar. You have 3 centre-backs across the defensive line. Then you have 2 wing-backs who push very high up the pitch, almost like wingers. In the middle, you have 2 central midfielders who control the game. Ahead of them, you have 2 number 10s or attacking midfielders who create chances. And finally, you have 1 striker up front leading the line. The idea behind this formation is that the wing-backs provide width and attacking threat down both flanks. The 2 number 10s operate in the spaces between the opposition's defense and midfield. The striker holds the ball up and brings others into play. The 3 centre-backs give you defensive security and the ability to play out from the back. When it works well, this system can be devastating. The wing-backs create overloads out wide. The number 10s find pockets of space. The team dominates possession. The striker gets plenty of service. Sporting Lisbon played some brilliant football using this formation under Amorim. They won titles. They looked like one of the best teams in Portugal. It was genuinely impressive. But here is the problem. What works in Portugal does not always work in the Premier League. The speed is different. The physicality is different. The tactical sophistication is different. And most importantly, you need very specific types of players to make this system work. You need athletic wing-backs who can run all day. You need technically gifted number 10s who can play in tight spaces. You need a striker who can hold the ball up under pressure. Not every squad has these players. Manchester United certainly do not have all these players. Their wing-backs are not natural in those roles. Their number 10s are not suited to the positions Amorim wants them in. Their striker has been injured most of the season. The square pegs in round holes problem has been obvious from day one. And yet Amorim has persisted with the 3-4-2-1 regardless of whether it fits his players or not. Why the 3-4-2-1 has failed at Manchester United. Let me be brutally honest about why Amorim's preferred formation has not worked at Manchester United. Because we need to understand the problems before we can appreciate why change is necessary. First problem, the wing-backs. This system requires elite wing-backs who can defend like full-backs and attack like wingers. They need incredible stamina to get up and down the flanks for 90 minutes. They need defensive discipline to track back when possession is lost. They need attacking quality to create chances when pushing forward. United do not have players who can do all of this consistently. Diogo Dalot has tried. Ahmad has tried. But neither is a natural wing-back. Dalot is a full-back who looks uncomfortable pushing that high. Ahmad is a winger who looks uncomfortable having to defend. When you play players out of position, you get inconsistent performances. That is exactly what has happened. Second problem, the number 10s. Amorim's system needs attacking midfielders who are comfortable playing in congested central areas. Who can receive the ball under pressure. Who can turn and create. Who can link play between midfield and attack. Bruno Fernandes can do this. But who else? Mason Mount has struggled. Other options have not worked. When you only have one player who suits the role and you need two, you have a problem. Third problem, the striker. Benjamin Sesko was signed to lead the line in this system. He was supposed to be the target man who holds the ball up and brings others into play. But he has been injured for most of the season. Without him, United have been playing with strikers who do not fit what Amorim wants. That makes the whole system break down because the focal point is missing. Fourth problem, defensive fragility. Playing three at the back should make you more solid defensively. But United have been leaking goals all season. Why? Because when the wing-backs push forward and the midfield gets bypassed, those three centre-backs are isolated. If the opposition counterattacks quickly, United are exposed. The defensive structure that should be an advantage becomes a weakness. Fifth problem, lack of width. This might sound strange because the wing-backs provide width. But when the wing-backs are actually wing-backs and not natural wingers, the quality of crossing and chance creation from wide areas suffers. United do not stretch teams enough. They do not create enough from out wide. The width is there positionally but not effectively. Sixth problem, squad depth. When you play such a specific system, you need depth in every position. You need backup wing-backs. You need multiple number 10s. You need centre-backs who are comfortable playing in a 3. United do not have this depth. When injuries hit, which they have constantly, Amorim runs out of suitable players. That forces him to use people in roles they cannot handle. Seventh problem, Premier League adaptation. The simple truth is that most Premier League teams play 4 at the back. They are set up to face 4 at the back. When you play 3 at the back, you are doing something different that requires perfect execution. Any mistake, any confusion, and you get punished. The margin for error is tiny. United have made too many mistakes. All of these problems combined have led to Manchester United finishing 15th last season. 15th. Their worst ever Premier League finish. That is not bad luck. That is not just the players underperforming. That is a tactical system that does not fit the squad. And everyone could see it except apparently Ruben Amorim. The pressure that has been building on Amorim. Let me take you back to understand the pressure that Ruben Amorim has been under regarding his tactics. Because this decision to finally change did not come out of nowhere. It has been building for months. Back in early October, United were in crisis. The results were terrible. The performances were awful. Fans were calling for Amorim's head. The media were questioning whether he was the right appointment. And crucially, there was a massive game coming up at home against Sunderland. A game that Amorim absolutely had to win to keep his job. At that time, our transfer correspondent Dean Jones revealed some fascinating information. He said there was an expectation from people close to the club that something had to change. Not just the results but the approach. The same old tactics were not working. Everyone could see it. Everyone knew it. Something had to give. Jones explained that while Amorim was very fixed to his 3-4-2-1 system, and while changing formation would take a lot of work on the training field, there was deep concern from internal figures at the club. Not just fans. People inside Manchester United were worried. They could see the problems. And they were making their concerns known to Amorim. Here is the key part. Our sources have revealed that United's board had previously asked Amorim to consider changing his system. The hierarchy had met with him. They had discussed the possibility of playing a 4-3-3 instead. They believed that formation would be better suited to the players United actually have rather than the players Amorim wishes he had. Think about what this means. The people who hired Amorim, the people who back him financially, the people who are ultimately responsible for the club's success, were telling him that his tactics were not working. That is massive pressure. That is your bosses saying we need you to adapt or else. Amorim survived that Sunderland game and the immediate crisis passed. But the pressure never really went away. Results improved slightly, but United were still inconsistent. Still making the same tactical mistakes. Still looking uncomfortable in the 3-4-2-1. The question of whether Amorim would ever change his stubborn approach hung over everything. Fast forward to now. United finished 15th last season. They are doing better this season but still not where they should be. And now Afcon is taking away 3 key players, including 2 who are crucial to making the 3-4-2-1 work. Suddenly, Amorim has the perfect excuse to try something different. The perfect opportunity to experiment without admitting he was wrong before. And he is finally taking it. The Afcon factor that forces change. Let me explain why Afcon is the catalyst for this tactical revolution at Manchester United. Because the timing of this formation change is not coincidental. It is directly related to losing key players to the Africa Cup of Nations. As we have discussed extensively in previous content, Manchester United are losing Nasser Mazraoui, Amad Diallo, and Bryan Mbeumo to Afcon. All 3 are starters. All 3 are important to how United have been playing. And crucially, 2 of them, Amad and Mbeumo, are absolutely vital to making the 3-4-2-1 formation work. Amad plays right wing back. He provides the pace, energy, and attacking threat down that flank. Without him, United do not have a natural replacement who can do that job to the same level. Diogo Dalot can play there, but he is not the same player. Patrick Dorgu is too inexperienced. Nobody else really fits the role. Mbeumo plays as the right-sided number 10. He cuts inside. He scores goals. He creates chances. He has been one of United's best attackers this season. Without him, United lose a huge amount of goal threat from that position. Mason Mount could play there, but he does not offer the same qualities. The drop-off in quality is significant. So Amorim is faced with a choice. He can try to force square pegs into round holes. He can ask players to do jobs they are not suited for. He can persist with the 3-4-2-1 even though he does not have the right personnel. Or he can adapt. He can change the system to better suit the players he actually has available during Afcon. And according to Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic, who is one of the most reliable journalists covering Manchester United, Amorim has chosen to adapt. He has decided that Afcon is a good opportunity to try playing in a different way. He has told his players ahead of time that change is coming. And work has been done at Carrington practicing the new formation. This is actually quite clever from Amorim if you think about it. By framing the tactical change as a response to Afcon absences, he avoids admitting that his preferred system was not working. He can say we have different players available, so we need a different approach. It is pragmatic rather than an admission of failure. It saves face while still making the necessary changes. The quote from Amorim says it all. Afcon is a good opportunity for us to try to play in a different way. Not we have to change because the 3-4-2-1 is not working. Not we should have changed months ago. But this is an opportunity. It is smart messaging that allows him to experiment without looking weak or indecisive. What the 4-3-3 formation looks like. Now let me explain the 4-3-3 formation that Amorim is reportedly ready to implement. How it differs from the 3-4-2-1. Why it might work better for United. And what it means for different players in the squad. The 4-3-3 is one of the most common formations in world football. 4 defenders across the back. 3 midfielders in the middle. 3 attackers up front. It is simple. It is flexible. Most players have experience playing in it at some point in their careers. That familiarity is an advantage. The back 4 consists of 2 centre-backs and 2 full-backs. The full-backs can push forward when attacking, but they do not go as high as wing-backs in the 3-4-2-1. They provide width but with more defensive responsibility. This should make United more solid at the back because you always have 4 defenders rather than 3 centre-backs who can get isolated. The midfield 3 can be set up in different ways. You might have 1 defensive midfielder sitting deep with 2 more attacking midfielders ahead. Or you might have 2 deeper midfielders with 1 attacking midfielder pushing forward. Or you could have 3 box-to-box midfielders who all contribute defensively and offensively. The flexibility is a strength of the 4-3-3. The front three consists of two wingers and a central striker. The wingers provide natural width. They stay wide to stretch the opposition defense. They can cut inside to shoot or cross from out wide. The striker plays centrally as the main goal-scoring threat. This is a very straightforward attacking structure that most players understand instinctively. The key differences from the 3-4-2-1 are significant. You have 4 defenders instead of 3. That should make you more defensively secure. You have traditional wingers instead of wing-backs. That means more attacking threat from wide areas without sacrificing defensive stability. You have a midfield 3 that can be balanced rather than the sometimes exposed midfield 2. And you lose the number 10s in favour of wider attackers. Why might this work better for Manchester United? Several reasons. First, the players are more familiar with it. Most of them have played 4-3-3 at previous clubs or for their national teams. There will be less confusion and fewer positional mistakes. Second, it suits the personnel United have available. They have centre-backs who are comfortable in a flat 4. They have wingers who can play wide. They have midfielders who can play in a 3. The pieces fit better. Third, it could make United more solid defensively. The back 4 is easier to organise than 3 centre-backs with wing-backs. There is less space to cover. Fewer gaps to exploit. More bodies in defensive positions. Given how many goals United have conceded, anything that makes them tighter at the back is welcome. Fourth, it could help the attack. Having genuine wingers who stay wide creates space in the middle for the striker and midfielders. It stretches the opposition. It creates 1-versus-1 situations out wide. It makes United more unpredictable. The 3-4-2-1 had become too narrow and easy to defend against. The 4-3-3 opens things up. How United's current squad fits a 4-3-3. Let me break down how Manchester United's current players would fit into a 4-3-3 formation. Who benefits from the change? Who might struggle? What does the team look like? Starting with the goalkeeper, nothing changes. Andre Onana continues in goal regardless of what formation United play. His distribution and ability to play out from the back remain important in either system. The back 4 would likely be Diogo Dalot at right back, Lisandro Martinez and Victor Lindelof as a centre-back partnership, and Luke Shaw or Tyrell Malacia at left back when fit. This is a pretty solid back 4. All these players are comfortable in a flat 4. None of them are being asked to do anything unnatural. That should lead to better defensive organisation. If Harry Maguire and Matthijs de Ligt recover from their injuries, they also slot in easily as centre-backs in a 4. United actually have decent depth at centre-back for a 4-3-3. Much better than their depth at wing-back for a 3-4-2-1. The midfield 3 is where things get really interesting. You probably want one defensive midfielder who sits deep and protects the back 4. Casemiro is the obvious choice when fit, though he has been declining. Manuel Ugarte could play that role. Even Kobbie Mainoo could do it, though he is better box-to-box. Ahead of the defensive midfielder, you would have 2 more advanced midfielders. Bruno Fernandes is guaranteed to be one of them. He can roam. He can create. He can shoot from distance. The other spot could go to Kobbie Mainoo, Mason Mount, or even someone like Christian Eriksen in certain games. United have options here. The beauty of the midfield 3 is its flexibility. Against weaker teams at home, you might play more attacking with Bruno and Mount ahead of one defensive mid. Against stronger teams away, you might play 2 defensive mids with just Bruno ahead. You can adjust based on opposition and game state. That tactical flexibility is something the 3-4-2-1 lacks. Up front is where United might have problems during AFCON specifically. With Ahmad and Mbeumo gone, who plays on the wings? Marcus Rashford is the obvious choice for one wing. He has played there his whole career. He knows the role. On the other wing, you might have to use Mason Mount, Antony if he is still at the club, or even young players from the academy like Shea Lacey. The striker position depends on Benjamin Sesko's fitness. If he is available, he leads the line. If not, Rasmus Højlund or Joshua Zirkzee step in. United have striker options even if none of them are perfect. Mateus Cunha could also play centrally when fit. The key point is that even with AFCON absences, United have enough players to field a competent 4-3-3. They might not have their strongest possible 11, but they have players who can play the roles required. Compare that to trying to play 3-4-2-1 without Ahmad and Mbeumo, where you're really struggling to fill the wing-back and number 10 positions. The 4-3-3 just fits the available personnel better. The players who benefit from this change. Let me talk about which Manchester United players will benefit most from switching to a 4-3-3. Because tactical changes always create winners and losers within a squad. Biggest winner is probably Marcus Rashford. He has been struggling badly in the 3-4-2-1. He has looked lost, unsure of his role, playing in positions that do not suit him. But put him on the left wing in a 4-3-3 and suddenly he is back in his natural position. The position where he has scored most of his career goals. The position where he knows exactly what to do. This change could revitalize his season. Another big winner is Kobbie Mainoo. In the 3-4-2-1, Mainoo has been competing for one of only 2 central midfield spots. In a 4-3-3, there are 3 midfield positions. More opportunities. More game time. And the box-to-box role in a midfield 3 suits his style perfectly. He can defend. He can carry the ball forward. He can link play. This formation plays to his strengths. Casemiro could benefit too. In a 4-3-3, he can play as the single defensive midfielder. That is his best position. That is where he excelled at Real Madrid. In the 3-4-2-1, he was one of 2 central midfielders with both defensive and offensive responsibilities. That exposed his declining legs. But as a pure defensive mid sitting in front of the back 4, he can use his positioning and experience without needing to cover as much ground. Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot should benefit as well. Both are natural full-backs. In the 3-4-2-1, Dalot has been asked to play wing-back, which requires much more attacking output than he is comfortable with. In a 4-3-3, he can play as a traditional full-back. Defend first. Attack second. That suits him much better. Same for Shaw on the left when he is fit. The centre-backs should benefit from having 4 in the defensive line instead of 3. Lisandro Martinez, Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Matthijs de Ligt. All of them are more comfortable in a flat back 4 than in a back 3. They have played that way most of their careers. Less confusion. Better understanding. More solid collectively. Even some of the attackers who have struggled might benefit. Joshua Zirkzee could play as the central striker with 2 wingers providing service. That might suit him better than trying to hold the ball up with number 10s around him. Mason Mount could play as one of the advanced midfielders in the 3, which might be better than trying to be a number 10 in the congested areas Amorim system created. The common theme here is that most of United's players are better suited to a 4-3-3 than a 3-4-2-1. They have more experience in it. They are more comfortable in their roles. That should translate to better individual performances, which leads to better team performances. The players who might struggle. Of course, not everyone benefits from a tactical change. Some players might find themselves marginalized or struggling to fit into the new system. The biggest loser might be whoever was thriving specifically as a wing-back. If Ahmad was not going to AFCON, he might have been concerned about this change. He has been excellent as a right wing-back. In a 4-3-3, he would probably play as a right winger, which is different. Still suits him, but different. Nasser Mazraoui might also lose out. He has been good as the right-sided centre-back in a 3. In a flat 4, does he play right-back or centre-back? Where does he fit? Bruno Fernandes might have less freedom in a 4-3-3. As one of the number 10s in the 3-4-2-1, he could roam wherever he wanted. In a midfield 3, he has more tactical discipline required. He cannot just wander. He has to maintain his position more. That might limit his creativity and impact. Though to be fair, Bruno is good enough to adapt to any system. Some of the squad players who are competing for wing-back or number 10 spots in the 3-4-2-1 might find there are now even fewer opportunities. If you are not good enough to play full-back or winger in a 4-3-3, where do you fit? The roles are more defined and that could squeeze some fringe players out completely. Antony, if he is still at the club, should theoretically benefit as a natural winger. But he has been so poor that even in his natural position he might not get chances. Sometimes a tactical change exposes players who are hiding behind systemic excuses. If Antony still cannot perform as a winger in a 4-3-3, there are no more excuses. The other potential issue is that players who joined Manchester United specifically because Amorim wanted them for his 3-4-2-1 might feel misled. They signed up to play in a certain system and now that system is being abandoned. That could create some resentment or confusion. Though professional players are expected to be adaptable. Overall though, I think more players benefit than lose out from this change. The squad as a whole is better suited to a 4-3-3. That is just the reality of the personnel United have. When we could see the new formation. Now let me talk about timing. When exactly will we see this new 4-3-3 formation from Manchester United? Tonight against Bournemouth? Next week? Later in the month? According to Laurie Whitwell, work has been done at Carrington practicing the 4-3-3. Amorim told his players before the Wolves game that a change was coming. So the team has had at least a few training sessions to work on the new system. They are not going in completely blind. The Bournemouth game tonight at 8 p.m. seems like a realistic possibility for the debut of the 4-3-3. The team announcement comes at 6:45 p.m. By then we will know if Amorim is ready to pull the trigger on this change or if he wants more preparation time. There are arguments for doing it tonight. Bournemouth at home is a winnable game. It is not against a top 6 opponent where you absolutely cannot afford to make mistakes. If the new formation needs time to bed in, better to do it against mid-table opposition than against Arsenal or Liverpool. Get the teething problems out of the way in a game you should win anyway. There are also arguments for waiting. Amorim mentioned that Benjamin Sesko, Harry Maguire, and Matthijs de Ligt are all injury doubts for tonight. Sesko had food poisoning. Maguire and de Ligt are still out with their previous injuries. If key players are missing, maybe you want to wait until you have a fuller squad before implementing major tactical changes. Amorim did say about the injured players that they have 2 training sessions still before making final decisions. So maybe some of them will be available and that influences his choice about when to debut the 4-3-3. If not tonight, then the next obvious opportunity would be the game at Aston Villa next Sunday. Villa away is a tough match, but by then the AFCON players will definitely be gone. If Amorim wants to use their absence as the justification for changing formation, Villa away makes sense as the first game without them. My prediction is that we see at least elements of a 4-3-3 tonight against Bournemouth. Maybe not a full switch but a hybrid formation that moves toward 4 at the back. Then a complete change to 4-3-3 for the Villa game and subsequent matches during AFCON. That gradual transition might be the smartest approach rather than a sudden dramatic switch. Either way, United fans will be watching the team sheet tonight with intense interest. Any hint of a 4-3-3 will dominate the conversation before, during, and after the match. What success looks like with the new formation? Let me set some realistic expectations for what success looks like if Manchester United do switch to a 4-3-3. Because it is important to understand that changing formation is not a magic fix that instantly solves all problems. First expectation, defensive improvement. United have been leaking goals all season in the 3-4-2-1. If they switch to a 4-3-3 with a back 4, they should become more solid. Fewer individual errors. Better organization. More bodies in defensive positions. Clean sheets should become more common. If United start keeping clean sheets regularly, that is a sign the tactical change is working. Second expectation, more balanced performances. One problem with the 3-4-2-1 was that United looked either brilliant or terrible with no in-between. The new formation should lead to more consistent displays. Maybe not spectacular but not disastrous either. Solid 7 out of 10 performances week after week. That consistency is what wins you points over a season. Third expectation, better use of wide areas. The 4-3-3 should create more chances from out wide. Better crossing. More 1-versus-1 situations for the wingers. More stretched opposition defenses. If United start scoring more goals from crosses and wide play, that shows the new formation is unlocking different types of chances. Fourth expectation, improved player confidence. When players are comfortable in their roles, their confidence grows. You should see Marcus Rashford looking happier and playing better. Kobbie Mainoo getting more involved. Defenders communicating better. Individual performances should improve across the board. What should not be expected is instant perfection. There will be an adjustment period. Players will make mistakes as they learn the new system. Positioning will be off occasionally. Communication will break down. That is normal and to be expected. United fans need to be patient through the transition. You also should not expect the 4-3-3 to suddenly make United title contenders. They are too far behind already this season. But it could make them top 4 contenders. It could make them competitive in every game. It could lay the foundation for a stronger finish to the season and a better start to next season. Success is getting back into the European places. Success is winning more games than you lose. Success is looking like a proper team with a clear identity and style. If the 4-3-3 delivers that, it will have been worth the change. The risks of changing formation mid-season. While I am generally positive about United trying a 4-3-3, I need to be honest about the risks involved in making such a major tactical change in the middle of the season. First risk, confusion and disorder. When you change formation, there is always a period where players are uncertain about their roles. Where should I be when we defend? Where should I move when we attack? What space am I responsible for? This confusion leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to dropped points. United are already struggling for consistency. Adding more confusion could make things worse before they get better. Second risk, exposed weaknesses. Sometimes a tactical system hides certain player weaknesses. The 3-4-2-1 might have been masking problems that a 4-3-3 will expose. Maybe certain players will look even worse in a different formation. Maybe issues that were not obvious before become glaring. That could force Amorim into difficult squad decisions. Third risk, loss of progress. United have been working on the 3rd of April to the 2nd of January for over a year now. Players finally starting to understand it. The patterns of play becoming more automatic. Throwing all that away and starting from scratch means losing that progress. All those hours of training and coaching going to waste. That is a real cost. Fourth risk, timing. Changing formation when you are about to lose 3 starters to AFCON seems odd. You are learning a new system with your second-choice players. When the starters return, do you switch back? Or stick with what you have been doing? The timing creates complications that would not exist if you made the change during a normal period. Fifth risk, lack of preparation time. United do not have weeks of pre-season to work on a new formation. They have a few training sessions and then straight into competitive matches. That is not ideal for implementing major tactical changes. The chances of initial teething problems are high when you rush the process. Sixth risk, player buy-in. Do all the players believe in this change? Or do some think it is a mistake? If certain players are not fully committed to the new system, they will not execute it properly. That lack of buy-in can sabotage the whole thing before it even gets started. Seventh risk, Amorim's own comfort level. This is not his natural system. He has built his entire coaching identity around the 3-4-2-1. How comfortable is he really coaching a 4-3-3? Can he make in-game adjustments as effectively? Can he read what is going wrong and fix it? His inexperience with this formation could be a problem. These risks are real and should not be dismissed. Changing formation mid-season is always a gamble. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it makes things worse. United fans should be hopeful but also prepared for some bumps along the way. What this means for Amorim's long-term future. This formation change has huge implications for Ruben Amorim's long-term future at Manchester United. Let me explain why. If the 4-3-3 works well, if United start getting better results and playing better football, it actually reflects poorly on Amorim in some ways. Because it raises the question of why he did not make this change sooner. Why did he stubbornly stick with a system that was clearly not working for over a year? Why did it take losing players to AFCON to force him into finally being flexible? These are fair questions that people will ask. If the 4-3-3 proved to be obviously better for this squad, then Amorim wasted more than a year persisting with the wrong tactics. That is bad management. That is stubbornness over wisdom. And it might cost him credibility with the board, the players, and the fans. On the other hand, if the 4-3-3 works well, it also shows that Amorim can adapt and learn. That he is not completely wedded to one way of playing. That he can be pragmatic when necessary. That quality might save his job long term. Managers who cannot adapt do not last. Managers who can change and evolve tend to stick around. If the 4-3-3 does not work, if results stay bad or get worse, then Amorim is in real trouble. Because then the argument becomes that his tactics are the problem regardless of formation. That he just is not good enough at this level. That United made a mistake hiring him. At that point, his job security becomes very shaky. The board has already asked him once to consider changing his tactics 3-4-2-1 changes to a 4-3-3.